and they were true. But internal strife and financial upheavals kept the C5 project in development limbo for nearly 8 years before ever seeing the light of day. But for all that time, Corvette lovers within GM labored in back rooms and basement studios, knowing that a project like the Corvette happens maybe once in a career, and this one was going to be done right no matter what. From the beginning, Chief Designer John Cafaro had a vision of how the fifth-generation Corvette should look, and by sticking to his guns, that vision is on the street today. The bold, sweeping curves seemingly rise right from the ground in front and arc up to the aircraft-inspired canopy. From there, a single dominant line encompasses the windshield roof and rear hatch. A sharp downward angle and forward-reaching curve marks the rear design, almost willing the car into action. Taken overall, the shape appears clean and uncluttered, but look closer and many nuances in the design appear. The double bubble roofline, the aggressive side vent door treatment, and the high fenders and inward slope of the hood. The stretch styling doesn't appeal to everyone from all angles, but it says Corvette loud and clear, and no one can fault that. Once the shape was decided upon, attention was focused on the chassis, and no GM car ever faced a tougher set of criteria. This Corvette was expected to be the bionic man of sports cars. Lighter, faster, stronger, roomier, oh, by the way, cheaper. To accomplish that, Corvette engineers used a lightweight steel space frame with a central backbone-like tunnel. The single-piece side rails are set low for easier access to the cockpit. And making the cockpit floor from a sandwich of fiberglass and balsa wood added tremendous stiffness and made the car lighter and quieter to boot. The resulting assembly is as solid and rattle-free as any luxury car on the market. From the first turn of the wheel, we were amazed at the smooth, quiet performance. No longer must Corvette drivers cringe at approaching potholes or be distracted by annoying buzzes and shakes. It must simply be driven to be believed. And facing that lucky driver is a handsome set of analog, not digital, gauges. Smaller dials are set on different planes for a striking visual statement. All controls fall easily to hand, even at night, and all surfaces have a soft and expensive feel. Great care was taken in the details of this layout, and it shows. Driver and passenger will appreciate the increased leg and hip room and the more comfortable seats. Stretching the wheelbase by over 8 inches and widening the track by 3 has freed up a lot of space. And space is what you'll find under the rear hatch also. Space for 2 golf bags or a real load of luggage. Liftover is still high by necessity, but access is easier through the wide, uncluttered opening. Choosing a power plant for the ultimate American icon is no easy task. For one thing the engineers knew for sure, it had to be a light, compact V8. There's just no mistaking the pushrod V8's lusty exhaust rumble, and no substitute for its awesome low-end grunt. So evolved the LS1 engine. It's still a small block 350 at heart, but an all-new aluminum design capable of 345 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. Best of all, it does this while still delivering up to 28 miles per gallon on the highway. The Corvette delivers on the bottom line, too. The base price of $38,068 is practically unchanged from the model it replaces. Expect a new convertible soon while rumors persist about a lower-cost fixed-roof coupe. The 1997 Chevrolet Corvette is indeed here at last and stands as a proud testament to the passion and persistence of the engineers that coaxed it into being. So, will enthusiasts embrace the new Vette? Well, as far as we're concerned, the line starts right here.
The very first Corvettes debuted in 1953 and were a sports car in name only. Their quasi-European styling belied their humble 6-cylinder power and 2-speed automatic transmission. As the 50s progressed, styling assumed a character of its own with a new body style to match its now standard V8 in 1956 and quad headlights for the 1958 model. In 1961, the now famous twin taillight clusters debuted on the well-received boat tail Vettes, which proved to be a harbinger of things to come.
Corvette is certainly the image car for Chevrolet, but it's also much more. The Corvette platform has always been used as a test bed for engineering and manufacturing techniques that might trickle down to other General Motors cars. So the Corvette has seen a lot of evolution over 4 decades. Well, our resident Corvette aficionados, Pat Goss and Craig Singhas, have been studying what's under the skin of the C5 and the path that got it there.
5.7 liters.
Track that the new Vette surprised and delighted us most. Now, we've always enjoyed our outings at Roebling Road, especially when a Corvette was involved. The C4 certainly entertained us with its tremendous grip, great throttle response, and predictability at the limit, but often earned low marks for vague steering, spongy brakes, and a heavy feel. Driving the same familiar corners now, the C5 Corvette portrays an entirely different character. The wider and longer stance belies a nimbleness and import-like response not felt on earlier Vettes. Initial turn-in invokes less understeer than before, but a deliberate throttle foot is all that's needed to coax the rear into play. Learn to use the gas wisely and the C5 will be your willing accomplice, urging you to push harder and rewarding those efforts with the thrill ride of a lifetime. The drive-by-wire throttle system surpasses the traditional linkage in faster response time, yet retains the familiar tension and feel. That, combined with a lighter clutch and our car's rear-mounted 6-speed transmission, allowed 0 to 60 sprints of 5.1 seconds. Quarter-mile dashes took a mere 13.6 seconds, ending at 106 miles per hour. Corvette engineers made every effort to deliver a car that responds to every wish and twitch of the wheel. So exiting corners at speed will likely induce some progressive tail swing, which is corrected by just the slightest modulation of throttle. We also wonder if the ultra-stiff sidewalls of the skinnier run-flat tires might not limit rollover and reduce breakaway limits in a small way. But on balance, there has never been a Corvette that has been more of a driver's car. Our car was equipped with the optional 3-way suspension, but the stiffest performance calibration is actually equal to that of the standard Corvette suspension. So buyers of the base car are not really losing out on cornering ability. Club racers and other masochists will want to opt for the stiffer Z51 suspension setup for extended track work. The Corvette's newfound handling prowess comes directly from an all-new short long-arm suspension, coupled to an improved version of the transverse composite leaf spring. And since the basic structure of the car is so stiff, the suspension no longer has to compensate for flex in the car, resulting in a more purposeful setup and a big payoff in precision. Steering that is light on the street often translates to vague on the track, but not in this case. Using a variation of GM's luxury car MagnaSteer, the steering wheel now connects the driver to the road like never before. Feedback is almost telepathic, while damping of the normal shudders and thuds is well above par. And the same can be said for the brakes. Keeping our fun safely in check was an advanced Bosch ABS-5 4-wheel disc system. 114-foot stops from 60 were a snap, and slowing from triple-digit speeds was accomplished without fade or wander over hundreds of laps. Finding the right balance between road comfort and track performance is a tricky proposition for any car. And we must admit that knowing what a remarkable road car the 97 Corvette is, some of our drivers were prepared for a letdown on the racetrack. Happily for us, those predictions were wrong. The C5 truly is a world-class street and track star, and should have drivers of more expensive hardware checking their mirrors very carefully. Veteran auto writer James Schefter's top-secret odyssey inside General Motors is quite a story in itself, and his chronicle of the off-and-on 8-year development of the C5 Corvette is serious reading for any enthusiast. His book, All Corvettes Are Red, gives us a driver's eye view of every meeting, argument, obstacle, and triumph along the new Vette's bumpy road to reality. From the first wild sketches and clay mock-ups to the proving grounds and the factory floor, no other book has described the genesis of a new car with this much startling detail.